Making headlines this hour, President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum inaugurates public service media's Islamic TV channel, Munnar. The Vihraj Gadu, the first broadcast and radio channel in the country, celebrates its 54th anniversary with special activities and programs. And Israelis and Palestinians react to U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's speech on Israeli-Palestinian peace.
Good evening and welcome to Nightly News on Television Maldives with me, Fatma Sara. President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum has inaugurated public service media PSM's Islamic TV channel Munnar, which aims to create religious awareness amongst Maldivians. The channel was launched at a function held at the President's office this morning. Speaking at the function, Chairman of PSM Ibrahim Umar Manik said that after winning the election and taking office, the most valuable work done by President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum is the effort exerted in strengthening the Islamic faith of Maldivians. Deputy Managing Director of the company, Mr. Muhammad Ikram, also addressed the attendees of the ceremony. During the ceremony, Managing Director of PSM, Ibrahim Halil, presented a commemorative plaque to the President. The President was accompanied at the function by Minister of Islamic Affairs Dr. Ahmed Ziad and senior officials from the President's office. President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum initiates the distribution of Mushaf Maldives to Maldivians. It was officially initiated during a function held at the President's office this morning. To officially start distribution, the first copies were presented by the President to 3 boys and 2 girls from the Center for Holy Quran who were committing the Quran to memory. The Mushaf Maldives project was conducted by Ministry of Islamic Affairs as part of their efforts to provide each Maldivian with a copy of the Quran. The cover page and layouts are based on the stone carvings at the Friday Mosque in Malé. The project was carried out with the assistance of state companies, NGOs and individuals. The Islamic Corporation for Development of Private Sector ICD of Jeddah also donated to the project. Minister of Islamic Affairs Dr. Ahmed Ziad addressed the ceremony, which was also attended by senior officials at the President's office. President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum appoints Aishat Shan Shakir as ambassador of the Maldives to Bangladesh. President Yamin presented the letter of appointment to the new ambassador at a ceremony held at the President's office this afternoon. In accordance of the Article 115 of the Constitution, Aishat Shan Shakir's nomination as ambassador of Maldives to Bangladesh was confirmed by Parliament on 18th of October this year. Ambassador of India to the Maldives, Akhilesh Mishra, has paid a courtesy call on Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Mohammad Asim. During the meeting held yesterday, Minister Asim and the Ambassador exchanged views on further strengthening bilateral relations between Maldives and India in various areas, including youth development. They appreciated the ongoing cultural exchange programs and valued the youth exchange program conducted this year. Minister Asim reflected on their long-standing friendship and successful cooperation during the year. Ambassador Akhilesh assured India's full support and cooperation for the progress, development and prosperity of Maldivian people. The Maldives and Japan invite submissions from public for a design contest to commemorate the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Series of events are being planned to commemorate this milestone, as well as to deepen the existing positive relationship between the two countries, which include creating a logo to represent the anniversary. The deadline of the submission of the logo design is on 27 January 2017. According to the announcement, the submitted logo designs will be evaluated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan and the Government of the Maldives. More information on the logo design contest is available on www.mofa.go.jp. Divya, the first broadcaster and radio channel in the country, is celebrating its 54th anniversary with special activities and programs. The day also marks the commencement of broadcasting in the Maldives.
Divya, DRA began broadcasting in 1962 and since then has been disseminating news, current affairs and general information to raise public awareness. The first transmission of the channel lasted a mere 4 minutes. The DRA, which is part of Public Service Media PSM, is broadcasting special programs throughout the day. Other TV and radio channels of PSM are also carrying special programs to mark the occasion. Throughout the years, the radio station has remained foremost in informing the public and also played a major role in connecting the public during national disasters and events. Divya began broadcasting under the name Malay Radio. Today it runs 2 radio channels, DRA for broadcasting news and information and Divya FM dedicated for entertainment. The station's name was briefly changed to Senoko Radio and later in 1967 to Maldives Islands Broadcasting Service (MIBS). In 1969, the channel's name was changed to Radio Maldives, but the name Divya, which is translated into Voice of Maldives, was given to the station on January 19, 1980. The channel was rebranded to Raja Radio in 2009, following the government's decision to bring both state radio and TV under Maldives National Broadcasting Corporation (MNBC). In February 2012, Maldives Broadcasting Corporation (MBC), established under an Act of Parliament, assumed the management of the national TV and radio stations to rename both the channels back to their former names. DRA is now part of Public Service Media, which was established by an Act of Parliament in 2015. Since it took over the management of DRA, PSM has been undertaking efforts to improve and modernize radio programs. Over the past 54 years, DRA has undertaken significant efforts to expand and broaden its services. The station has remained a leader in providing news, educating the general public, playing the role of a public informer on health, educational, sports news and information, all the while bringing a variety of entertainment programs for all genders and age groups.
Fisheries Minister Dr. Mohammed Shiny says ongoing project to employ modern technology to track tuna will significantly help fishermen in the future. He made the statement while speaking about the ongoing experimental trial of an onboard bird tracking radar to ascertain whether such a system can improve the efficiency of the country's one-by-one tuna fishing boats. The trial, conducted by the International Pole and Line Foundation, IPNLF and Furuno USA, is the latest project to be carried out under the long-standing Memorandum of Understanding agreement between IPNLF and Ministry of Fisheries and Agriculture. The first bird tracking radar technology was installed on a fishing vessel named Julie in September this year. Fisheries Minister Dr. Mohammed Shiny today visited the vessel and inquired about the progress of the trial. South Korean shares and marginally firmer, capping the best yearly performance in 4 years. The Korea Composite Stock Price Index KOSPI closed up 0.1% at 2,026.46 points in the country's last trading day of the year. The index gained 3.3% in 2016, its best performance since 2012. Offshore investors bought a net $106.72 million worth of KOSPI shares. The South Korean was quoted at 1,207.7 to the dollar at the conclusion of onshore trade, up to 0.2% compared to Wednesday's close of 1,210.5. Facing a strong dollar, the currency depreciated 2.9% in 2016, its third consecutive year of declines. South Korean markets will be closed on Friday for a national holiday and reopen at 100 GMT, an hour later than usual on January 2, 2017. And looking at news from international arena, Israelis and Palestinians react to U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's speech on Israeli-Palestinian peace. In Jerusalem, Israelis reacted to the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's speech, where he warned that Israel's building of settlement was endangering Middle East peace, expressing unusually frank frustration with the long-time American ally. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas responded to U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry's Middle East speech in Washington by saying he was convinced peace with Israel was achievable, but continued to demand that Israel hold settlement building before talks restarted.
President Abbas is fully convinced that a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace can be achieved and is doable on all core issues on the basis of the Arab Peace Initiative specified terms of reference, which guarantees to fully end the Israeli occupation and lead to the establishment of an independent state of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital on the 1967 borders that will live in peace and security side by side the State of Israel and solve all core issues, including refugees and prisoners, on the basis of the relevant international legality resolutions. President Abbas will continue to cooperate very closely with France, which plans to convene next month an international conference in Paris in order to guarantee the launching of a credible peace process on the basis of international law, international legality, and the Arab Peace Initiative within a specified time frame and a new international follow-up mechanisms.
US-backed peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians broke down in 2014. Arakat said it was Abbas's position that the minute the Israeli government agrees to cease all settlement activities, including in East Jerusalem, and agrees to implement agreements signed, the Palestinian leadership stands ready to resume permanent status negotiations on the basis of international law. In a swiftly issued statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu accused Kerry of showing bias. He said Israel did not need to be lectured to by foreign leaders and looked forward to working with incoming President-elect Donald Trump, who has vowed to pursue more pro-Israeli policies. In a 70-minute speech with mere weeks left in his tenure, Kerry said Israel will never have true peace with the Arab world if it does not reach an accord based on Israelis and Palestinians living in their own states. Kerry's remarks and Netanyahu's reply marked the closing chapter of an increasingly bitter US-Israeli relationship during President Barack Obama's administration over differences on settlement building and the Iran nuclear deal signed last year. Israel has pursued a policy of constructing settlements on territory it captured in a 1967 war with its Arab neighbors, the West Bank, Gaza and East Jerusalem, areas Palestinians seek for a state. Most countries view the settlement activity as illegal and an obstacle to peace. Israel disagrees, citing biblical and historical connections to the West Bank and Jerusalem, as well as security interests. Some 570,000 Israelis now live in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, together home to more than 2.6 million Palestinians. Peace talks have stalled since 2014. The past 4 years in the Syrian city of Aleppo seems to be filled with numerous deaths and injuries, untold destruction and a humanitarian catastrophe caused by relentless ground fighting and punishing attacks. Since the beginning of this year, reporters have paid several visits to the war-torn city and witnessed the fighting, damages caused to residential buildings, historic sites, medical facilities, schools, and even the UN offices, and the suffering of civilians at shelters. The devastation was prominent across the city, with entire neighborhoods leveled, schools, hospitals, marketplaces and factories destroyed, and ancient landmarks reduced to rubble. Civilians have been the biggest victims of the fighting between government forces and opposition factions. Even now, many continue to remain in the hospitals that are still operating. Meanwhile, more citizens, many of whom are women and children, have been forced to live at reception centers without enough food and other supplies. Although the war has ended and Aleppo has been returned to the government control, the humanitarian crisis in the world's oldest city has been reduced to a shell of its former glory. When people took to the streets late night on December 22nd, after the government announcement of Aleppo's liberation, they were both celebrating the end of brutal war and hoping to start rebuilding their lives on the ruins of the ancient city. In addition to Aleppo, the prolonged conflict in Syria, now in its 6th year, has also devastated many other cities, including Homs and Palmyra. Jordanian authorities have tightened security in the capital and many other tourist destinations across the country following the recent terror attacks. Amman has maintained a high state of vigilance over the past week, with armed police deployed to secure every major street and scenic spot. All tour groups visiting the city have also been ordered to be accompanied by police during their stay. The security measures come after a series of shooting attacks on police and tourists in the central Jordanian town of Karak earlier this month, which killed at least 10 people. The shootings, the bloodiest in Jordan in recent past, have challenged Jordan's image as an oasis of calm in a volatile region threatened by extremists. The kingdom is a crucial ally of the United States, which is leading an international coalition against the IS extremist group, also known as ISIS, in Syria and Iraq. The attacks in Karak have also raised new concerns about the rise of Islamic militancy in the country. According to recent reports, Jordan has an estimate 4,000 citizens fighting abroad, including in Syria and Iraq, and analysts said there is a possibility that these radicalized Jordanians will come back and launch attacks. 2 people have been killed when an Army Air National Guard helicopter crashed into water near the Bayport Cruise Terminal in Texas. The cause of the accident, some 25 miles southeast of Houston, was not immediately known. The names of those killed have not been released. The Houston Pilots Association said the helicopter crash did not affect navigation in the Houston Ship Channel, which links the busiest U.S. petrochemical port to the Gulf of Mexico. An encounter breaks out between Indian security forces and militants in Bandipora district of Kashmir. Here is more on this. Following a tip-off about the presence of militants in Shahgund village of Harjin area of the district, Indian security forces cordoned off the area and launched a search operation. During the search operation, the militants opened fire on the security forces, who then retaliated. Heavy firing between the two sides is currently underway. Reportedly, 2 militants are suspected to be holed up in the area. The encounter comes over a week after militants killed 3 Indian soldiers in Pampore town. There has been a spate in militant attacks in Kashmir since India on September 29th announced surgical strikes against suspected militants attempting to infiltrate from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. India has long accused Pakistan of using Kashmir-based militants as a proxy to mount attacks on Indian soil. Pakistan denies giving any aid to Kashmir-based militants these days, although it admits doing so in the past. Roger Federer arrived in Perth, Western Australia in the early hours of Thursday morning with wife Mirka and his children, signing autographs and posing for pictures with fans. The Swiss returns to action at the Hopman Cup starting on January 1st, which he will play in for the first time since he teamed up with his now wife Mirka in 2002. He will partner compatriot Belinda Bencic at the international team tournament in Perth. 35-year-old Federer has invited everyone to watch him train for free in Perth on Thursday night. The 17-time Grand Slam winner had surgery on his left knee in February, and after missing the February French Open with a back injury, announced in July that he needed extensive rehabilitation and would be sidelined for the rest of the season. Federer said his goal was to get fully fit, and he was looking forward to a few matches in Perth before the year's first Grand Slam starts later in the month in Melbourne. And on a lighter note, the world's highest bridge has opened to traffic in southwest China. Chinese state media reported on Thursday that the bridge soars 565 meters above a river and spans 1.34 kilometers between Shunwei City in Yunnan Province and Shuicheng City in Guizhou Province. According to China's state broadcaster CCTV, the bridge shortens the journey between the two places from more than 4 hours drive to about an hour, and it cost about $140 million. According to state-run Xinhua news agency, the structure is part of a highway that links Hangzhou city in eastern China to Ruli city in Yunnan. 7 of the 10 highest bridges in China lie in Guizhou. With that, that's it for now. Stay tuned for more updates of recent current affairs stories here on Television Maldives. Thank you for joining us. Wish you a pleasant evening. Good night.